Am I the a-hole for wanting to move away and not looking after my parents? I, 27 female, have 2 older siblings, 41 female and 39 male, who have taken advantage of my parents' kindness for years. My parents have tried to help set my siblings up because they were high school dropouts and didn't know what they wanted to do in life. They opened up restaurants and bailed them out of debt, only to get into bigger crap later on. My sister has finally grown up and has a good business now, but she spends too much. She even tried to borrow $50,000, but I knew she won't pay me back, so I said no. She then tried to make me feel bad by saying I was a horrible sister. My brother is still an idiot and has racked up $500,000 of debt, and sends his letters to my parents' house thinking they'd bail him out again. Sadly, my parents are in no condition to work anymore due to injuries. I didn't dare ask for financial help from my parents because they were severely stressed for my siblings, so I went on benefits when I went to university. Every time I saved up a few thousand, a debt collector would come knocking because my brother was severely late on payments. So every time the debt collectors came, I paid what I had saved over and over again while I was studying because I felt sorry for my parents. When I graduated, I had to move for work and came up with an agreement with my parents where I paid in advance for their mortgage and they pay me back in a lump sum, almost $30,000, when I came back. 18 months later, I came back and they did not keep their end of the agreement. They tried to justify their actions by saying that they were leaving their life insurance at house with a large mortgage to me when they die. I was depressed for a long time because that money was to help with living expenses when I go back to study. Fast forward now, my parents told me they will be canceling their life insurance as they can no longer afford it. I said that's fine, but then asked them, which one of your 3 kids has caused you the most grief financially? To which my mom answered, your brother. So I said to get him to look after you, and that it's their fault for investing in the wrong child. Now they are mad at me, saying that it was a waste raising me because I'm not a dutiful daughter. To which I retaliated by saying that they stole the money that was meant for studying from me. My mom tried to downplay this and said it's in the past and that I should let it go. I'm planning to move away, even to a different country, and to go low contact. Despite this, I'm even willing to send a small amount of money to them once in a while, which they probably won't even appreciate because they are not grand gestures like my sisters. So am I the a-hole? Edit 1. From the 30,000 incident, I stopped financially helping my family, which was about 7 years ago. As for the debt collector's part, it happened when I was a naive and very sheltered teenager. My brother pressured my mom to take some of the loans out in her name. I helped out because my parents are both depressed, and my mom wanted to end herself. Also because I was scared that it could escalate to us losing our home. Edit 2. I am financially and mentally okay. I just wanted to know if I am the a-hole for moving out and not wanting to look after my parents in their old age, which will be end of this year when I buy a house. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Oh gosh. First of all, stop paying for your brother's debt. That can get you into more trouble. And second, go no contact or low contact with your family because they are no good for you. Sorry, I forgot to mention, but I stopped about 7 years ago. And I will go low contact when I moved out end of this year when I buy a house. Your family doesn't seem to care a lot about you. Protect yourself and don't put yourself on fire to keep them warm. I know, I feel they only care if I give them very expensive stuff. I bought my mom an Arden handbag for her birthday, but she didn't even use it once, but will use the Louis Vuitton handbag my sister got her, even though it's fugly. I took back the Arden handbag and will be using it for myself because it actually looks sexy. Not the a-hole. Stop paying them money? Stop entirely. That's a horrible idea. They're using you and they will continue to use you just like your brother has. Sorry, I forgot to mention I stopped financially helping about 7 years ago. But you said you may continue to send them some money after you move. Don't do that. Please don't do that. After reading all these supportive comments, I've decided not to. If they are starving, I'll just get food delivered to them, I guess. Maybe. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not taking sister-in-law's kids on vacation with us? My husband's sister has 2 kids, 10 and 12. We don't see them often because they live a few states away and their father has primary custody. My sister-in-law has a habit of imposing on us. She'll call us while she's driving to our house and tell us she'll be staying a week or 2. So it wasn't a huge surprise when she called my husband a couple days ago to say she was sending the kids to our house for 3 weeks, once school lets out. Apparently, there's some drama at their dad's house, so he doesn't want them exposed to it. But she rents a room so the kids can't stay the night more than 1 to 2 nights a week. The only problem is that one of the weeks she plans on sending them to us will be on vacation at Universal. She said, great. They've never been. They'll have so much fun. My husband explained that isn't an invitation. He's letting her know she needs to choose different weeks. She asked why the kids can't just go with us, and we explained we're driving, so there's no room, and our Airbnb has just enough beds for our family. She offered to drive them down herself and have them sleep on a couch. We said that could work, and told her the cost of the tickets we bought were $380 each, so if she sends us the money, we would buy another 2. She asked why she would send us the money, and we explained these are her kids. She would need to pay for them to go. She said that was ridiculous. If we have the money for this trip, then we're obviously well off and can afford to pay for her kids too. We told her we saved for years for this trip. We have a strict budget and we cannot afford an extra $800. As it is, we'd have to figure out how to add more to our budget for extra food, which we didn't ask her to pay for. She called us selfish and said we'd get to explain to our kids why they didn't get to go to Universal and their cousins did. My husband hung up on her and shortly after got a call from his brother saying pretty much the same. He said $800 won't break us, but their sister would never be able to save that much. He's not entirely wrong. We could put it on a credit card. But the whole reason it took so long to take this trip is because we are paying exclusively in cash. We just got out of credit card debt a couple years ago and don't want to go backwards for something that isn't an emergency. We've given both his siblings money before for things like rent and car repairs. But this is different. Are we the a-holes? Huge not the a-hole. She sounds so entitled. $800 is a lot of money to ask for on a whim. Seriously, that's my mortgage payment for the month. And his brother also needs to butt out of it unless he's going to pony up that change. Don't you love the way Opie's sister-in-law and brother-in-law seem to think that Opie and her husband have an extra $800 in their back pockets? But the concept of saving for what you want is completely foreign to them. Leeches. Sometimes the posts on this sub astound me. Not the a-hole. You aren't obligated to take your sister-in-law's children on your family vacation, and you certainly aren't obligated to pay for it. Would it have been nice if everything worked out that way? Sure. Sounds like those kids have it rough. Does it in any way mean you should pay $800 and overburden your family? Of course not. Sister-in-law needs a talking to about boundaries and what your family can and cannot take on. Blood ties aren't an excuse to take advantage of someone. Not the a-hole. Just refuse to watch those kids at all. It sucks their mom has no concept of notice, money, or how entitled she's being, but don't enable her at all. Flat out refuse. Call the police if she drops kids off after you refuse to watch them. If the kids are in an uncomfortable environment and we can keep them away from that for a few weeks, we're 100% happy to do that. But we just need them to come a little later. None of this is the kids' fault, so we don't want to punish them. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my friend and his 2 kids in another state? So my buddy's wife ran out on him and he was pretty distressed by it, saying he didn't know what to do. He wasn't sure how he was going to raise these kids by himself. I felt bad, so I told him I would move across the country to help him out and help raise the kids. My one stipulation was, if you start dating someone and move them in within the first month of me being there, I would leave the next day. He was buying a new house. I was just helping him raise his kids while he got on his feet, and then after a couple years, I was going to move out. Fast forward to us both moving in, and he's been talking to this girl on Tinder for about a month. The first day we move in, he brings her over. I had certain areas of the house I had made arrangements in, organized things the way I wanted, and when he introduced her to me, he said these are his areas, don't mess with anything here. As soon as I was out of earshot, she started telling him how she wanted to reorganize those areas. After about a week of her being there, I talked to him and asked, did you just decide to move her in here or does she have her own place to go to? And he said she was going back home that night. And she did. For one night. I was paying about half the cost of the house, but he kept pushing my stuff further and further into my room. Furniture that I had brought, different ornaments, until finally everything I owned was pretty much in this tiny room while his girlfriend brought all of her stuff over. I told him this isn't what I agreed on, and if she was going to be living here all the time, I was leaving because I don't feel like being a part of Full House. He told me I wasn't in a place financially to move out anyways, and I should just get with the program. Well, he was partially right. I didn't have the money to leave, but I did have the credit score to get a loan. When he and the girlfriend took the kids one weekend, I rented a U-Haul and moved all of my stuff out. By the time he came back, I was gone. He texted me saying how I screwed him and the kids over. How was he supposed to pay for everything without me there? I told him to figure it out with his girlfriend since she's the one that's helped him so much. Edit. The reason I told him if he moved someone in I would leave isn't because I thought he would. It's because my last roommate did the same thing and moved in their partner without telling me. I got a call while they were driving back from picking up the partner's things from a couple states over to ask if they could stay. It was something along the lines of, "Hey, we're an hour way back from the States." I told my partner to come move in with us and we grabbed all their things. We're almost back. It's okay if they move in, right? And for those who worried about the kids, I made sure there were plenty of people around who could check up on them and keep them happy and healthy when I left. It was a couple months after his wife left him that he started talking to this girl. There was a situation where he was already leaving the job he was at. There was no reversing the situation. And he was moving back to his hometown to be closer to his parents. His wife was supposed to go with the kids first, but that wasn't happening obviously, so the kids stayed with his parents while he tied up loose ends. I told him I was leaving and he needed to get his stuff together, about a month before I actually left. I was going to tell him beforehand, but there were still a lot of things I had paid for that I wanted to take with me, and I knew they were things he and his girlfriend liked having around. I didn't want to deal with them ganging up on me and getting the police involved. From my last experience when the police are involved, if the person who is staying in the residence after you leave say that you're trying to steal something, it doesn't matter if your name is on the lease. It's now their home, and everything in it is theirs, unless you can prove in court that it's not. I had already lost out on a couple tens of thousands of dollars. I wasn't willing to lose that last little bit of what I had. He told me I wasn't in a place financially to move out anyways, and I should just get with the program. Not a a-hole for so many reasons, but this part just really seals the deal on him being a gaping a-hole. You moved states at great financial risk to help him, and he turned around and tried to financially abuse you for it. This exactly. Get with the program after violating literally your one rule? Get the hell out of here. Not a a-hole. I swear this sounds like Buddy's wife left him because he was straying. Mighty big coincidence that he moved. Found some random gal, got her all moved in before you could blink, and she took over the house. Good for you for moving out. As is pointed out in another comment, his friend went right to financial manipulation in order to bend Opie to their will. Decent chance that previous wife was in a similarly abusive situation but more vulnerable. Getting out of a horrible situation is hard. Getting out with children is harder. Priorities as a parent are not taken into account with the statement I know. Not a a-hole. He wanted to have his cake and eat it. If you start dating someone and move them in within the first month of me being there, I would leave the next day. He moved a girlfriend in. You moved out. Sounds like the deal you made was crystal clear. And sounds like Opie knew he had a habit of straying. Why else make such an oddly specific ultimatum in advance? Usually, it's suggested that you wait 6 months before introducing a new person to your kids, much less move them in. Not a a-hole, by the way. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for threatening my mom that I'll stop paying the house utilities if she won't respect my sleeping pattern? So I got hired on a remote job that pays 3 times more than my job before the lockdown. The problem, however, is my working hours are 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Because of this, I became a nocturnal person, which was never really a problem to me because my brain is more active at night. My mom, however, didn't like it. She made a rule that all of us should eat together at breakfast every Sunday, which means I have to wake up at 7 a.m. on weekend. I can't because I normally sleep around 4 or 5 a.m., and I can't force my body to sleep early. Not to mention I'm still working from Friday night up to Saturday morning. I've been telling my mom not to disturb me on Sunday, but she's always like, "No, you sleep early on Saturday so you can join us." But I can't. And no, I'm not resorting to sleeping pills or whatever. So earlier, I got annoyed with her, which prompted me to threaten that I'll stop paying the house utilities if she won't respect my sleep schedule. Due to the pandemic, my parents' business went bad, so they're barely meeting the ends. So my financial assistance is a huge help for them. Mom got mad. Dad called me selfish and ungrateful for letting me live at their house rent-free. Funny, it's because it's not even free since I'm paying a lot for the utilities. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Tell her that you'll be happy to have breakfast together as a family when you wake up at noon. You can call it brunch, or you can call it a compromise, whatever she prefers. Not the a-hole. They can be adults or they don't get their life subsidized by you anymore. Not the a-hole. If you can, move out and let them sort out the mess you leave behind. To be honest, I could. I just can't because of the COVID situation in my country. Probably once I got my vaccine. Start saving the money and doing the research. And getting everything ready. Not the a-hole, but come up with a compromise, like a family lunch or dinner instead of breakfast. I always eat lunch and dinner with them since lunch is technically my breakfast and dinner is my lunch. So what is the difference between that meal and every other meal? Control.